in Helena High. She'll be attending the University of Montana in Helena this fall. And she's been volunteering as an advocate for NAMI Montana for the past year. I was told by Matt Kuntz, who's our Chief Executive Officer for NAMI Montana and did most of the advocacy work, what we call advocacy work, not lobbying in front of the legislature, that her testimony in front of the Joint Subcommittee on Health and Human Services was considered by many to be the most powerful testimony in support of mental illness treatment at the past legislative session. It must have been the only thing that happened at the session that made any sense. So Emma, we're proud of you. I'd like you to welcome Emma Valesky.
The thing that I have accepted is my mental illness. I realize I have a challenging brain suffering conditions, there's nothing they cannot overcome. I support NAMI because it works to help educate people who live with serious mental illnesses, their families, and the public about realities of serious mental illnesses. They explain that mental illnesses are brain conditions, not different from any other biological conditions in the body. Just like other medical conditions, treatment for mental illness can be effective. I've been on over 13 medications: lithium, Abilify, Lamictal, Gedon, Resveratrol, melatonin, Remeron, Seroquel, Luvox, Zephyr, Visceral, Saccharine, and Lotida. I'm currently still on some of these medications. They make my brain at the most stable level it can be at. Often, I have to take medications due to side effects. I frequently have blood work done to monitor how much these medications are affecting my body, especially my liver. If my liver has been adversely affected, I go off that particular medication, which makes it a delicate balance. There are drugs that I have been on that cause tremors, extreme lethargy, and mania. There have been times where I had to try something different. I was still young in the age of my diagnosis. I had to change medications and to go through this, often in my liver or my weight gain. My medication manages a lot of physical things. To sustain and doing everything treatment is washing my hands repeatedly. Luckily, treatment made most of my symptoms go away. My treatment consists of medication, before therapy, monthly visits to my psychiatrist, the medication monitoring, blood tests, and self-care. For my self-care, I must take my medication when required, eating properly, exercising, drinking plenty of water, and regular sleep patterns. I could never drink alcohol or take illegal drugs because it could be fatal for me. While it's a lot of work, this medical treatment gives me my life back. That's the same message that NAMI counsels all of its consumers and families. Proper treatment is a critical step towards recovery from serious mental illnesses. Family support is also a key component of recovery. My family is the best thing that has ever happened to me. Without them or their support, I wouldn't be here today. That's something I know is true 100% from the heart. Nothing can ever change that. NAMI works to help families as supportive as possible to their loved ones that live with serious mental illness. NAMI Family for Family Path and its family purpose help keep our family on the same page as we go through this challenging journey together. It's a long process, but recovery from mental illness is possible. I know that someday I will go to college, get a job, marry, and have a family if I choose. I'm not letting my mental illness define me, and I'm not afraid to state my mental illness. I am who I am, and my mental illness is part of who I am. Thank you for listening to my story and supporting NAMI. As Matt Kulisek told me when he asked me to give me this speech, I'm living proof that the fight against mental illness is worth fighting. Thank you.